Africa unite. Africa unite. Africa unite. Cause we're moving right out of Babylon. And we go into our father's land. Yeah. How good and how pleasant it could be before God and man to see the unification of all Africans. Hey, Marcus Garvey said it. Now let it be done. We are the children of that higher man. We are the children of that Rasta man. Whoa, Africa unite. Africa unite. Unite for the benefit of your children. Because we're moving right out of Babylon. Unite for the benefit of your future. Because we're moving right out of Babylon. Hey, Africa unite. Good morning from Houston, Texas, United States of America. This is Smart Mado Ajaja, the convener of Open Nigeria and Africa Unite, and the anchor of Nigeria Now at ONN and the Nightingale Radio International. I welcome you to yet another live stream, yes, of ONN. Please, if you're joining us and you have never joined before, do us one favor. Please subscribe to our channel. If you are watching from Facebook, follow the Open Nigeria ideology page from where I am making this broadcast to our audience on Facebook. YouTube, thank you. Thank you, YouTube. YouTubers, my followers on YouTube, you have been doing a marvelous job. You're helping us grow massively. Yeah, our viewership has increased tremendously. As we speak, as of today, our platform, our channel has been viewed by over 650,000 people. That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. And it couldn't have happened just because I come up every morning to say one thing or the other to you. It is because of your commitment. It is because you want to hear something. It's because you want to hear the truth about Nigeria, about Africa, about the United States, and about the world. And I commend you all for that. It wouldn't have been possible without you. I can tell you that. So I am humbled by your show of support. And I love you for that. And I encourage you to do some more to help us reach more people and expand our message in a manner that YouTube will easily and always recommend our channel for other people to come and view and watch our contents. Thank you very much. If I had $1 million each for you, I'm going to give it to you. But we are working. Who knows what happens next? So that is why if we succeed, you succeed. And the only way we can succeed is through your patronage, by following us, by commenting, by sharing our contents, and sharing our channel too. And doing whatever you can to support us. Yeah, they have many support mechanisms. You can join our membership, which is very, very important. Help us because what we are trying to do is to touch lives across the globe with emphasis on Africa. So whatever you can do to help us grow, whatever you can do to support us, whatever donation you can give to make us succeed, please do it. And then you will not regret it because we are a very practical people. Hyper Games. How are you? How are you? Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I welcome all of you. Please join us in this very, 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 very explosive broadcast. And we look forward to seeing a huge house for the next 30 minutes that I'm going to be here. So we can have fun and then leave an impression behind. What's up? Yeah, I am here talking about Africa, the need for Africa to unite. That's what it is, Hyper Games VR. So bring some more people on board. Invite your friends. Yes, and before we go into the subject matter of today, a few things, many things have happened around the world today as of last week. And one of those very important things, Zelensky's visit to the United States President Donald Trump, where they had a talk about how to end the Russia-Ukrainian war. Well, sadly, it did not end well. It was such a disaster. And I first saw that I saw what I saw live on television coming from the Oval Office. I thought they could have done a better job at that. And and I hope they still go ahead and find a common ground to resolve that humanity crisis, humanitarian crisis going on there with a lot of people dying, infrastructure being damaged, and all that. And another one, very important one too, from Africa, Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the president of Congo Democratic Republic of Congo traveled all the way from Kinshasa here to the United States again to meet President Donald Trump over the crisis in that place. Well, the details of the meeting is still sketchy. We don't know what, and I hope it was a good meeting because of what is taking place in that part of Africa. It's a sad thing that since 1960, when that country became independent, very rich, the richest country on earth, the richest country on earth, yeah. Um, Things have not gone well there. And the King Leopold of Little Belgium, he had killed over 12 million Congolese. Yeah, 12 million Africans were murdered. Yeah, for them to take control of the country. And then the first revolutionary president of that country, Patrice Lumumba, was murdered, and he was taken to Belgium, and then he was dissolved. This is how the height of wickedness. His body was dissolved in concentrated hydrosulfuric acid. Yeah, sulfuric acid, tetraoxosulfate 6 acid. If you did chemistry, you know what I'm talking. The concentrated form. Only a few years ago, what they brought back of a whole African revolutionary was his teeth. I think a couple of teeth they brought back for burial in Africa over 50 years after. That is sad. Yes. I love Bob Marley. I don't just like him. I love him. He's my brother. I'm a Rasta like him. He's the greatest Rasta ambassador. Yes. There's no question about that. I love Bob Marley. Thank you, Explosive. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's Bob Marley's work inspire minds too, and his ideology and spirituality and leadership is something that you cannot trade away. Yes, his honesty and his lifetime fight for justice and for the oppressed and repressed people around the world. Yeah, and that's the same thing I represent here as a Rasta. Thank you for the subscription, Explosive. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you, and I'm so happy and thrilled that you are part of this conversation that we are having. Okay, from Congo, yeah. The Congolese president Tshisekedi, he has been in the scene for a very long time. Actually, he's been there for around for a very long time. So, what kind of deal did he come to the White House to do? Is he selling out more minerals? What we want. It's a shame that African Union is non-existent. African Union is a joke of an organization. It's a joke of a continental organization. African Union that cannot pay its bills. African Union that cannot build its own secretariat. China had to come and build and bug. They have a whole African Union secretariat in Addis Ababa. And it makes me wonder it's a reflection of the tragedy of leadership in Africa, and which must change. And this is why we are talking about what we are talking about today. Yes, African Union. Yes, all their leaders cannot pay the bills of African Union. Conflict everywhere. Conflict everywhere. That's where they go seek solution. They go seek solution from the same people who are creating the conflict. How are you going to get the help of the doctor who is killing you to really heal you? It's impossible. And that is why we are saying African problems, African solution. African problem, African solution. But the African Union has been such a disaster, a colossal failure. Failed the African people. It failed the generation before ours, and it's failing this generation. And if this trajectory is allowed to continue, it's going to fail Africans deep into the future. And that is why we are calling on Africans down. We have to start thinking more African, and then think away from Europeans and the Arabs. Being now they are facing China. Is that our solution to our problems will never come from outside Africa. We are the problem. We are the people. We must sit down to address African problem. And that is why the imperative of African unity, as envisioned by our founding fathers, led by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Toure, Modibo Keita, Jomo Kenyatta, Emperor Haile Selassie, yes, Walimu, yes, Julius Nyerere, Kenneth Kaunda, yes, later Robert Mugabe, Mandela, and Samora Machel, Augusto Neto. All these were great Africans who saw what is happening to Africa today 80 years ago. And then they thought that the only way they could stop a second colonization of Africa preemptively was to build one African country. They call it United States of Africa. United States of Africa, with one network of government. Yes. One economy. Yes. One reserve bank. Yes. An Africa without borders. Yes. And an Africa with one military. Yes. Yeah, I repeat again. An Africa, United States of Africa, what our founding fathers envisioned was United States of Africa with one economy, without borders, with one reserve bank, with one currency, and one military. Yes, they saw 80 years ago, even more than 80 years ago, all that is taking place in Africa today. Africa stands a risk of a second colonization. Yes, because of the failure of leadership of the current leaders of Africa and those immediately before them. They were the ones who traded off Africa to the imperialists who are coming as neo-colonialists, again, using our people, using the puppets all over the place. Now they mob our continent. We don't even have a say in about our destiny. Our destiny is not in our hands. The destiny of the African people is not in the hands of Africans. Yes, our resources are not in our hands. People come, violate our airspace, come into Congo, land in bush forests and airports, take everything that they want out of there, create wars, arm the rival African groups, distract them from seeing what is happening to their continent, and they are fighting and killing themselves. Now, and it's a win-win for they who come to invade Africa. Yes, every bullet that is fired from an African AK-47 benefits the growth and the development of the manufacturer's economy. Every African who dies is another African who could have resisted them. Now they make Africa weaker. And then when they decide that their war is over, they bring their equipment and say, yes, here are our companies. We can reconstruct your damaged country. At whose expense? You have to pay them. Everything you do, it must be something that you have to pay for. Not free. So what is going to give Africa the type of leadership that will set Africa free? That is what we are saying. And then if you look at when Zelensky came here to the United States to meet with Donald Trump, there were things on the table. And I think he didn't like them. That was why. That was a representative of his country who had the interests of his people at heart. If it was an African leader, only God knows what, it's not God. We know what would have happened right there because of inferiority complex. He gave a good account of himself. Some people are not happy about that, but no president of a country will come and be treated so shabbily. Yes, he represents some people. Hey, Sigwake Terence from Zimbabwe, thank you very much for joining. How is Zimbabwe right now? Yes, tell me what's going on in Zimbabwe. Is the economy getting better? Yes, I am in Robert Mugabe's lifetime. I saw him as a great leader. But guess what? They made us hate him because he resisted the imperialist. He resisted the colonialist. Because of that, they destroyed his economy to make the people turn against him. And they successfully did that and destroyed that beautiful country. And that is what they have been doing all over. We make ourselves so cheap. They will always find someone to use to wreck from inside. This is what must stop. And this is what our ancestors did not want. Yes, the founding fathers, those who fought for the decolonization of Africa. Yes, it is time Africa graduated from this high school. Yes, from this imperial high school. We have been in that school for too long. We should graduate. Let us graduate, be on our own, make all the mistakes that we have to make, and correct ourselves and grow. That is how people grow. The big economies, including the United States, they made so many mistakes, yeah, before they got it right. So we can make our mistakes, and they're very honest mistakes too. Not the mistakes that have to do with corruption. No, that's not the type of mistakes we are talking about. Let's put our people to work, to construct our roads. We can start by building earth roads. It's okay, as long as we can maintain it and that we are still able to pass it. From there, we will graduate. That is how, and you know what? We have the resources to actually build the best of roads. So we must start using resources from inside Africa. We must start using African-made technology. We have to continue to make use. We must now start making use of our own people with our own idea. We must change how we educate our people. We must educate our people now as Africans. Yes, because this is the last fight that the African people have. If we miss this, I'm telling you, it will be occupation for keeps. And then there will be no room for us to get anywhere. Zimbabwe is doing good. Our president is trying his best. Great, great. I hope that is the case. Yeah, because when I lived in South Africa, I visited Zimbabwe a couple of times. I was in South Africa between 1994 and 1996. Harare was such a beautiful place, but I don't know what became of it later. Looking at what we heard when they wanted to remove Mugabe by all means, by inciting the people against him. Yeah, these people who do this, they don't care about majority, but they will come and tell us human rights. They tell us about democracy. That is why we must look inwardly about democracy. Let us create our own type of democracy in a manner that it will work for us, as long as it's social and socioeconomic justice contents of it. That is all. We don't owe anybody any permission to do things the way we would do it in a manner that works for our people. The reason why Africa has been struggling is because we always do things waiting for external approval. We have to be validating ourselves. And when you do the right thing, you see the result. It works for everybody. Yes. Africans must change how it chooses his leadership or its leadership. The African people must start holding their leadership accountable. As kingdoms, before the nation states started emerging, people in kingdoms had ways of holding their leadership accountable. If you read African history, you know how kings were treated when they veered off and started acting crazy. The people stood up and removed them from power. But today, it looks like we lost that fire because we started practicing what has nothing to do with us. It is time Democracy is good. But when it comes to Africa, it never works right. So that thing that makes it not work right is something that we must look at critically and remove it. We have so many things to worship in Africa. We have so many things to worship in Africa. And all those things obstruct the flow of democracy. All those things make the institutions of democracy not work. Yes, I am from Nigeria. We have this, they say we are practicing America's presidential system. I have lived in the United States for nearly 30 years. And I look at Nigeria, every time I'm told that Nigeria is practicing presidential system, I say no, it's not. There's absolutely nothing being practiced in Nigeria that is near what is being practiced here. The Nigerian democracy is a farce. That is why one man, that is why one drug dealer, that is why an identity thief, that is why a fraudster that we don't know anything about, we don't know his place of birth, we don't know his date of birth, we don't know any of his brothers and sisters, we don't know the primary school he attended, we don't know the high school he attended, we all of a sudden he landed in Chicago on whose passport? Fake passport. Yes, the United States have all the records about him. When we wanted it, Joe Biden sat on it and never released it to us. Well, I don't know if Donald Trump is going to continue the same policy of hiding this criminal. Yes, and you know what? The vice president of Nigeria, rogue vice president of Nigeria, is a terrorist with link to Boko Haram. Yes, and it was in his house. Aminu Sokoto, who bombed the United Nations building in Nigeria in 2011. It was in his house that man was arrested. But today is the rogue vice president of Nigeria. And then what happened to the psyche of Nigerians too? And I'm sure it's the same all over Africa. The way we think that we have no power, we abdicate our basic human rights to criminals. If you are not a criminal, you cannot be a president, you cannot lead Africa. You cannot lead any country in Africa. If you are not a criminal, you are not a killer, you can't be a member of a legislator. You can't be in the judiciary. Everything works upside down. And you tell me it's democracy. Where is the democracy? We don't need that type of democracy. I'm sure the world is following what is taking place in Nigeria. Sexual harassment by the rogue Senate president of Nigeria. Yes, a strong case of sexual harassment against a woman, one of the few women at the Senate in Nigeria. You know, they suspended that woman in order to silence her, because the place of a woman in Nigeria and perhaps all over Africa is in the kitchen. The rogue terrorist president of Nigeria before now, Muhammadu Buhari, said the women belong to the Azar room. Yes, this is sad for a continent. And this calls on all of us. Yes, including majority of us who have been quiet, thinking that it's not our business, that politics is for some people to play. Now, you have seen the results. Why Africa is lagging behind. Yes, everybody comes to Africa, do whatever he or she likes, and gets away with it. China is coming. They are all over Africa, everywhere in the nooks and crannies, in the villages that the white man did not even come to. Yes, they are digging up our minerals and polluting our water system. Yes, and we are supposed to have leaders. You know what? Those leaders have been compromised to allow the Chinese do whatever they like. Then the traditional ones, French and other European imperialists are there. Thank you to Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore. Thank you to Niger, Siani. Thank you to the Malian, the young one in Mali. Now 3 of them are the only ones standing up for Africa. Yes, to say we have had enough of your exploitation. Africa, unite. Africa, unite. Now, I want to tell my young Africans, viewers from Africa, who understand and share in what I am talking about. You know, to change Africa, We do not have to align with the fake governments in Africa. Let us organize. Let us organize. I'm talking about the organization. I would love for you to join us at our Africa Unite platform on Facebook. Just type in Africa Unite. You will see it. Join. We want to come in very soon. We want to start a serious conversation about how to save Africa. Serious. We don't have to be members of any government. We have to form a parallel line of opposition to what is happening in Africa. If we follow the government, we are not going to do anything. We are not going to get anywhere. They obstruct you. It's time for us to organize. There should be an African revolution that will push the evil out of Africa and replace them with those who care and love Africa. Yes, that's the only way forward. If we don't do it now, the next generation will suffer. And they will cost us for our inaction. And then plunging them into slavery long before they were born. It is our duty. It is my duty. It is your duty. I don't care where you come from Kenya, from Gambia, from Nigeria, from Sudan, from Uganda, from Sierra Leone, from Liberia, from everywhere. It is time for the African people to come together. And we have a platform called Africa Unite. It's on Facebook. We will send it. If you search on Facebook, you will see Africa Unite. It has a map of Africa with an arrow piercing through the green vegetation. That is where you're going to see it. That is the right one. Maybe there may be some other Africa Unite platform, but we are organic. We are serious. We don't take money from government. We don't deal with corrupt people. We don't deal with puppets. That is why you see I stand up for the people of Nigeria against the evil there that unfortunately is staying there, holding the people hostage as the leadership of Nigeria. They don't represent the interest of the people. They are killers. They are exploiters. You say Nigeria is being whitewashed by terrorists and bandits, and nobody is standing up for the Nigerian people. And the Nigerian people have become so docile and weak. They have been worn out by hunger and starvation. Nothing is working. The economy is on the canvas. They don't have infrastructure. Can you imagine a country without electricity? Yes, for over 50 years of this fluctuation until it got to the point where the national grid collapses with ease. How you see why Nigeria is, they say it's the biggest economy in Africa. What is the GDP of Nigeria? Yeah, that is the sad thing. So this moment called for a sober reflection for the African people, especially with what is taking place here in the United States and everything taking place here. Now, if it hits Africa, how are we going to respond? You see the tariff war between the United States and Canada. When President Trump slammed tariffs on Canadian goods and services, Canada replied. Now tell me, if it was an African country, how are you going to reply? South Africa did us proud. Let's be very honest. They were able to reply. But if Nigeria was put in a position where Donald Trump say, Bola Tinubu, lie down there and let me flog you. Bola Tinubu will be lying down because he doesn't have anything to give. Nigeria is supposed to be the superpower house in Africa. Nigeria has absolutely nothing right now. The people in Nigeria live below poverty line. In the midst of their plenty, they don't have the capacity to do anything. So imagine Donald Trump chokes Nigeria up, Nigeria will crash. You don't have the kind of response, the audacity that Canada used to respond. You don't have the type of audacity Mexico stood up. The Mexican president stood up for his people. You won't have the kind of audacity that Zelensky traveled all the way from Ukraine to tell them that he cannot be pushed around. Yes. That is where we are. And that is why it is urgent. Very, very urgent. Now let me talk to you young Nigerians who don't think who don't understand how far gone Nigeria is. That they still have space to dance around the enemies that have made them poor, the enemies that made them unemployed and unemployable. Yes, Nigerian youths, a great number of them are very, very, very disappointing. They lack the depth of understanding of what is taking place in their country. They take everything for a joke. So I wonder what they do when they come to the internet to interact with other people. I wonder what they learn from the youths from Senegal. I wonder what they learn from the youth of Niger. I wonder what they learn from the youth of Burkina Faso. I wonder what they learn from the Malians who stood up many times. Actually, within 4 years, they stood up many times until they found what looks like a reprieve for them. A Nigerian young person will adjust to any difficulty. He will prefer to trek to Libya. Yes, imagine the risk involved. He will prefer to trek to Libya instead of coming together, join us who are advocating for them to give the Nigerian system a fight. Everybody is wanting to run away from Nigeria by all means and at all costs without visas. Then they take all this crazy risk, crossing from Morocco, crossing from Libya through the Mediterranean Sea into Italy, where they are kept in concentration camps and fed dog food, and with a lot of them dying in the high sea and become food for sharks. I would think that that energy should be rechanneled into standing up for themselves and standing up for their country. And this is what these oppressors, exploiters in Nigeria want to see happen. Let them leave. The country is now weak for them to do whatever they want. Terrorists are killing people in villages across Nigeria. They don't have any resistance. I tell you that what I know and from what I see, if care is not taken, a day will come. That will be the day of the end of Nigeria. And Nigeria would have been occupied. The terrorists are all over the place. Yes. Yes. They're all over the place. I come from a country where 30 million young people, poor children, not even young people, children as young as 6 years old, are on the streets in the north of Nigeria. Yes, in the north of Nigeria. That's where the people are calling for Sharia law. Sharia law is for the poor. Sharia law is never deployed to try high-profile criminals who are Muslims from that north of Nigeria. Sharia law is their latest way of silencing them. I cry every day seeing a young man, a 12-year-old boy, whose 2 arms were chopped off. What was his offense? That he stole cell phone. This is a poor, hungry man, poor, hungry boy that they criminally neglected. They didn't give him any access to opportunity to express himself. He had to feed. He had to look for something to do to support his stomach. And then somebody brought him before a Sharia judge. They sentenced him and then chopped off 2 of his forearms. In an African country, we are not Arabs. Even the Arab country, let's say Saudi Arabia provides for its people. We don't hear any such of a thing. Yes. We don't hear the hands of chopped off in Saudi Arabia. But the Africans are chopping off the hands of their own Nigerians in the north of Nigeria. They are shameless. The whole world is advancing. They are going back down to the Stone Ages. Something has to happen. Africa unites. Where is the leadership? And this is the reason why it is most important for all of us to line behind those that have shown serious sign that they can be the light Africa needs. I'm talking about the young man like Traore. Every African young person must start listening to that young man. We must do whatever it takes to protect him. As it stands today, since he came to power about 2 years ago, there have been over 18 coup attempts sponsored by France and their European collaborators to kill him so that they will return and seize the country the way they had seized it since independence. And this is what they want for the whole of Africa. I tell the African people that we have to met all the borders. If we met the borders and Africa becomes one country, we won't be having the troubles of Boko Haram. We won't be having the troubles we are having with the Fulani bandits. We won't be having the type of trouble we are having in Congo right now. Because Africa will have a concerted military force and a conflict resolution mechanics to deal with all of its problems. The solutions to our problems are in our hands. We have the men who can make them happen. But we don't have the leaders who are willing to make it happen. And that is why we should seek an alternative leadership in Africa. And that time, it has to be now. We have to start working on it right now. Thank God Ibrahim Traore has provided a space. We can use the space that he has to work and change the story of Africa. It is so sad to come from the richest continent on earth, populated by yet the poorest people. How can we juxtapose that? How can we really, honestly, and conscientiously, put those two things in the balance? The richest continent with the poorest people. Something is not adding up. But I tell the imperial forces too, you have had your days for a very long time. But there are consequences for bad actions. If you have conscience, you know that the people who live in Africa are human beings. They are not animals. It may benefit your businesses today. It may benefit your corporations today. But I tell you that nothing lasts forever. The people's suffering never lasts forever. A generation will come that will say, we can't go on like this. I think we are at that moment. So why not do business with Africa with respect and dignity, respect and the dignity of its people in mind? How do you feel hopping into your plane, coming into Congo? You land in an airstrip that you created in the forest. Dig all the minerals you want and leave. And then you come back and back and back again. You create confusion in the country. The people are killing themselves now. And it makes you happy. Over 1 million people last year died in that place. Yes, from diseases and from war. And nearly a quarter of the entire country are in internally displaced people's camp in their home country. They are refugees in their own country. And you feel good doing what you do because you have so much power that the African people do not have. But I tell you that this thing will not continue forever. Africans, again, I come to you. This is a moment for you. Are you listening to me? Listen. Yes. Listen to your forefathers. Listen to Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who told us, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, for none but ourselves can free our mind. What is that barrier? What is that thing that is holding Africans from coming together in unity to say, yes, the moment is now. We can be brothers. We understand ourselves that we must set ourselves free. We have been in captivity for a very long time. Where are those Africans that can make it happen? Hey, Millie, how are you? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing good. Yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you very much. Yes. Isn't it time? Why can't the story of Africa change from slavery to colonialism, imperialism, apartheid, and now globalization? Why can't the African story change? Why African businesses and African companies ambitious as the Chinese companies that come to construct roads in our continent? What do we, is it that we don't have? Let us have it that they are the ones working for us. We don't have to go to America or go to China to go and construct road for them. But there has to be that big vision, the vision that brought the Chinese. Chinese were nowhere about 50 years ago. Yes. Now they had this massive vision. China is constructing infrastructure all over Africa. When they give you one, they take 200. That is the infrastructural development. You understand? So why is there any reason we cannot put our graduates into action? We have graduates in engineering, civil, chemical, petroleum, electrical, and all that. Electronics, where are they? You know where they are? Some of them find their way outside Africa because Africa does not provide them the enabling environment to thrive. Why can't we put the type of leadership who care less about themselves but more about Africa and its people so we can grow, build research institutions, build universities that can teach Africans like Africans, teach Africans with what is in their environment in mind. What is so difficult about doing that? This is what these people did and before they went global. Yes. To go and take a people who love their country, they will go so far to exploit other people for the good of their own people and to the detriment of their victims. We have been victims. We have been handicapped. And part of the reasons we are handicapped is because of the choices that we make, because we don't put the right people in power, because of our corrupt ways, because of some of our traditions that must die. Yes, so we can be unleashed. It is in our hand. And only you, I, and all of us can do it. It's a pleasure being here today to speak on this very vexatious issue. And I'm hoping that I will have made an impact or made sense to some people who will start thinking now. And all of us will start coalescing to come and bring about the so much talked about African unity that started from the time of Mosiah Marcus Garvey, Emperor Haile Selassie, Kwame Nkrumah, Modibo Keita, Sekou Toure, yes, Julius Nyerere, Jomo Kenyatta, Kenneth Kaunda, Robert Mugabe, Samora Machel, down to the era of Thomas Sankara, and now to the era of Ibrahim Traore. We can make it happen. It takes guts. It takes choice. It takes decision. Let us make this period, that time, this moment in history, let us make it that time that Africa will take this historic decision. If the Europeans can come together, created the European Union, it was here in our time that all these things happened. They came together, reasoned that there was need for Europe to come together and open their borders to one another. We saw it. It's not something that we did not know about. It's not something that somebody wrote to us now in history. It's something that took place in this time. So why can't we do it? Why can't we do it by ourselves without help from outside? It's time to think Africa. Bye for now.